Good day. Happy New Year. May this year be a great one for us. Thank you so much for 2024. We start in His name. I thought about something, thinking about something. Enough of exaggerating supernatural and focus on relationship. The fact that we had a supernatural experience, we had proofs, we had templates, and all does not necessarily mean that it is God's perfect will. Even if it is God's perfect will and He has supernatural proofs and evidences, does not necessarily mean that you will not have your part to play. It's a partnership thing. But be wary of in trying to compare supernatural to relationship now. Be more wary of supernatural experiences and proofs and signs and wonders than you are wary of having to build a relationship with God. How do I mean? The case of Israelites in those days, they looked at other countries, other nations, and they desired a king. They felt they had the point. Samuel was their king, their priest, and their prophet, 3 in 1 person. And they felt they had already known that from the days of Eli. Was it Eli now? Knowing fully well that this thing could be generational, like it is Levi, yes, that they are already consecrated. So it was presumed and assumed that it was going to go by that family. But at some points, God said that I have said that before, but now I am saying this. That means God can change what He has said. That is, you have to be current with God. Relationship, like I said. So it came to a point that God had to say that I know I had promised that nobody would have to be to hold this post of priesthood except for this house of Levi. But now I am saying that it is who honors me that I will honor. That means it was an open-ended check for everyone that wants to be called by God or that wants to call God themselves and work for God. We have different scenarios, different outlets to that kind of post or that kind of office, as the case may be. So now, when Israelites were clamoring because they felt Samuel's children were not going to be followable, they felt they were not doing the will of God, they felt they were wayward and all that. So they clamored for king, and God said, give them a king. Really, so because number one, what influenced them was number one, they saw other nations and other countries doing the same thing, and they thought they were missing something through that process. So they wanted it. Number two, they had the proof that, okay, because their children are this and that, they are not following the tenets of what it takes to hold that position, not knowing that God qualifies the called. Fine, it is in the jurisdiction of and prerogative of the called to also know that there is more to just being called. You have to work on so many other things. You get to make the office good, to make the office presentable, to make the office worth staying, and you being loved and you being respected and you being regarded. You get that kind of thing. So they asked for it, and God said, okay, give them a king. Some coincidences started happening, and Saul was looking for his father's donkey. They went and met Samuel, and they had. So the fact that you had some supernatural experiences and instances does not necessarily mean that you are working in the perfect will of God. I wish Saul knew this, that the fact that he was lanky, tall, good, visible, like it was desirable as a king. He had kingly of due to their standards in those days, how they think they should choose a king. Like in comparison with the other nations and countries, he had these physical attributes. Compared to as in knowing that fully, he had some supernatural experiences. He was prophesying, he was speaking in tongues. He came across some men of God that were prophesying and joined them, and spirits over on him, and he too did something. So other signs and all that, so prove that he was the one. That does not still mean. So be wary of you trying to make it look like as if, after all, I was the one chosen. After all, I'm this. Be more capitalize on knowing that relationship is better. Relationship and doing things the way God wants you to do it. Doing things the way God wants you to do things, not necessarily what is generally acceptable. All these kind of general things that we tend to latch upon, okay, spiritual father, okay, leadership, some things might not be good for you. Some things might not be your route. And the fact that it is common or happening does not mean that it is even right in the first place. It took me time to discover that even the real Sabbath day was Saturday, not necessarily Sunday. And you can judge that what we think is right is what is generally common, and which is Sunday. So be wary of what is common, be wary of what is really, really acceptable, and why not just tailor yourself to God? Let Him direct you with His word. It's not going to be easy, and that does not mean that you should rebel against what is common and general, because accepting what is not common and what is not general might not be the answer to. But just start on a journey. My point is, don't always rely on supernatural events, instances, as the proof that God is with the person. Relationship is better, because you might be acting out some people's desires that is against God's perfect will. When God now wanted to choose another king, since it was a king they want, so God had to go by what they want forever. They kept misbehaving. The fact that kings might, if they had not chosen or wanted kings, the prophets too might, of course, as well misbehaved. But I'm basically talking and focusing on the perfect will. His children misbehaved. That was the reason for Samuel. There will always be a replacement at some point or the other. God is not short of whatever He wants to use. Samuel's children started misbehaving, and the children of Israel now cried, okay, we don't want any replacement. We don't want any your children to taking over and causing more havoc. Just give us king. Let us deviate from God. So the fact that it is God's will does not mean that there won't be some issues and like that. But that does not mean that if you deviate from what God is saying, that you won't still meet some Waterloo. I hope this is clear. So be sure that you have your relationship intact. Because most of these kings, even the one that God still chose, still in the mindset and mind frame of the fact that it was the Israelites that wanted the king tree. I hope you get what I mean now. So be wary of supernatural experiences, but focus on having your relationship intact and updated per time. I hope this helps. Thank you.